Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
It's 5 o'clock in Great Britain. Welcome to All for United, a very live special of the opposition preview. I'm your host, Grant. Welcome to everybody tuning in. As All for United, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you can follow us on the social media platforms. Before we kick off tonight's show, as always, there's been so much talk in the media about certain situations with Mason Greenwood. This isn't a footballing matter. What we do know at this moment in time is his name doesn't deserve to be mentioned alongside our great football club. This is an active police investigation and should be an opportunity for some to get views or make money from the story. We will, however, this week be highlighting in all our content on our channels this week how victims of domestic abuse can get help. You deserve better. Please get the support you need. We have links on our social media platforms, on our YouTube channel as well, for Women's National Domestic Abuse, Mankind, Galop, and much more. So do follow the links to that. But as I said at the top of the show, this is the opposition preview. We're going to be previewing Manchester United's FA Cup tie with Middlesbrough on Friday night. And who better to be joined for this episode of the show by a gentleman who has done so much stuff in the media game, a massive Boro fan. Graeme Bailey joins us on the show from 90minute.com. Graeme, a warm welcome back to the show. A real great fan of the channel. Good to see you.
Thanks. Yeah, I love being with you guys, and it was meant to be Middlesbrough getting Man United this year. Done a lot of things with Ben and Joe and the like, but yeah, it's a pleasure to be on the preview show, and hopefully back next season as well.
Absolutely. Well, it'll certainly be interesting to see how the game goes out. We're going to be previewing the match, so if you want to have your comments, have your say, please get them in on our socials, and don't forget to please like and subscribe at All for United for all content on our social media platforms. But Graeme, just before we kickstart and talk about the show and obviously the game, let's discuss a little bit about your love of Middlesbrough and your kind of following of Middlesbrough Football Club. How did that come about?
I am Middlesbrough born, see from some of the paraphernalia over that shoulder. There's all sorts of things from Ayresome Park in the days. Yeah, I've been taken to Middlesbrough games since the 1970s. I know I don't look it. But yeah, and I'm named. I all started when I was born. Grant, really. I was named after Graeme Souness, who was a Middlesbrough star player when I was born in 1977. He did leave a few months later, but yeah. So it all started from there. Really, my mum and dad met at a Middlesbrough game. So yeah, it's in my blood. Always has been. Always will be. And yeah, I grew up following them from the third tier up to the Premier League. So I've had the whole gambit of emotions, you know, where I think a lot of Boro fans of the current generations have only witnessed the Championship and the Juninho days and etc. But a lot of us Middlesbrough fans have experienced the lower leagues as well. You know, I remember playing Darlington in a league match. So it goes back quite a long way, Grant. And yeah, I love it. I'll always love them. They are my first love. I always tell that to my wife. They are my first love. I've loved them all my life. So and that will forever be the case. But yeah, and now thankfully I've got an 8-year-old son who's getting into it, and I'll be taking him to the game Friday. He's just getting into his football now. He's getting into Boro. So yeah, I've inflicted that pain on him as well.
Well, they're certainly having a very strong season so far in the Championship, and we'll talk about that throughout the show. But what's your kind of first real memories of following Boro, Graeme? Because when I was growing up, I remember guys like Ravanelli being at the club and Juninho really showcasing his talents. What were your memories?
My memories were of lower leagues at first. Ayresome Park, which is a place I still cherish in my heart, and I still regret when we left there. You know, it's just back then playing at Ayresome Park. It's Bernie Slavin, my boyhood hero growing up, and then the Brian Robson coming in my teenage years. They're my first memories really, because back in the day, Middlesbrough weren't. We were lower league, and I was travelling around to the Doncaster Rovers. I remember going to like Rotherham back in the day, which we still do now to a certain extent. But yeah, it was just remember standing the old Holgate end. I remember standing behind the goal. It was great. I loved it, and I was very fortunate to be in a position where my parents took me, and I was very lucky. And yeah, I do remember actually though being outside Ayresome Park when the gates were locked in '86 when we went into liquidation. I was one of the few thousand people who went to Hartlepool to see Middlesbrough kick off the 86 campaign against Port Vale. Nowadays, you hear many Middlesbrough fans. There's about 50,000 Middlesbrough fans went to that game, if you believe all the local rumours. But yeah, there's about 4,000 or 5,000 of us went to that game, and I was there for it, and that's why we had 86 on the old badge as well. A lot of people didn't realise that's why we had 86 on there when we came back from the death. And so that's my first memories. And then Bruce Rioch took us through the leagues, and it was fantastic. And I was obviously managed to see Middlesbrough's first trip to Wembley, which was in a competition called the Zenith Data Systems, if you remember that. Maybe not. It was a bit like the how would you describe it? It was the Papa John's Trophy for Championship, wasn't it? So and Premier League at the time. So I went to that, and obviously I've been to all the cup finals since. Never seen Middlesbrough win at Wembley. I think I'm up to about 6. In actual fact, I've never ever seen my team win at Wembley. I've been to about 8 games at Wembley following Middlesbrough in England. I've never seen my team win. But I did go to the Millennium to see us win the Carling Cup. So it's been a mixed bag. But I'll be honest, Grant, one of my best memories is going to Old Trafford. I've seen some cracking games at Old Trafford, and Middlesbrough do have, as we'll come on to, a pretty good record at Old Trafford.
Well, it's certainly going to be a very captivating tie on Friday night. Of course, the game is live on ITV, and I'll certainly be tuning into that. It certainly will be an interesting match. But let's preview Boro's season so far, Graeme, because we're having a look at the table as things stand on the 2nd of February. Boro sitting 6th, just inside the playoff spots. How have you thought of Chris Wilder so far? What have you made of his progress in the Boro job? Because it's been an interesting journey for him so far.
Yeah, we've only lost one game, Grant. He's really transformed our season so far. I think the squad suited him. What's coming, Neil Warnock built the squad, and it suited him what's coming. We did have some very good players there, and we'll touch on that. The main one for me, still Paddy McNair, player who as a United fan will know well. For me, that's still the best player in the Championship for me. And yeah, we've had a great run. We were capable of much more than what we were shown under Neil Warnock, and Chris Wilder's done that. But the system he plays, we'll come on to maybe predicting the lineups and predictions, etc. And it's been a breath of fresh air. He's taken to the town well. He's taken to the team well. The fans love him already, and we like what we're seeing. And it's been a real positive. We've gone from being nowhere near to playoffs to be real contenders now. And I think if we didn't reach the playoffs now, Grant, it'd be a bit of a disappointment. We're not aiming for the top 2. You know, Fulham are already up, in my opinion, really. And Bournemouth, wow, look at the business they did on deadline day. Send shivers to everyone in the Championship. And Blackburn, under the brilliant Tony Mowbray, are flying as well. So I don't think we'll get top 2. I don't think we're looking at that. But a playoff finish would be a very good season for us. I think you muted there, Grant.
Sorry, I was speaking to myself there. Yeah. I was just having a look at Middlesbrough's last recent results. I mean, just one defeat. I think it's in their last 10 games. You know, it's quite remarkable. Just that defeat away at Blackburn. Some really good results, winning away at Huddersfield, winning at home against Swansea. But it's narrow victories, you know, keeping the door shut at the back, but doing enough at the other end to win the games. That's got to be an important cornerstone.
Yeah, and we're doing the unusual thing, Grant. We play 2 up front, which is now from a bygone era. You know, when do you ever see, as a United fan, will this be the first time you've faced 2 strikers up front? Can you remember last time a United team faced 2 strikers? We're not talking about playing a 9 and a 10. These are 2 strikers you're going to face on Friday, and it makes for an interesting team selection. And that's what I love about the team. We're full of goals. We're probably outperforming ourselves a little bit. Our performances of the last few games haven't been great. We've been pretty much played off the park by Coventry and Blackburn. We won one of them. We could have got something at Blackburn. But yeah, with Dale Fry at the heart of the defence, we're doing really well. And it'll be an interesting team you come across. We put everything in. We had a disappointing deadline day, unfortunately. We were trying to get Jeff Hendrick in from local rivals, Newcastle, and even Kieran Clark, but not getting an extra midfielder in. I hope that doesn't cost us.
I mean, I was having a look at those results. I mean, I mentioned Huddersfield away 2-1, Swansea at home 1-0, drawing at Stoke, winning 1-0 against Bournemouth, winning 2-0 against Nottingham Forest, winning 2-1 at Blackpool. We'll come on to the FA Cup game in a minute, winning against Reading 2-1. You mentioned the Coventry game. all very different sides. And I guess that's what the Championship is all about, isn't it? You're coming up against different kinds of teams that are a bit more physical, teams that like to play the ball around a little bit at the back. People are very good at set pieces. It's an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Championship is real. It's just blood and thunder all the way, Grant. You see so many different teams, the styles of teams. You've got Fulham, who are probably one of the best teams the Championship has ever seen, with Mitchell, they're capable of literally putting 6 or 7 past you every week. Then you've got the Lutons and the Millwalls, Barnsleys, and the Coventrys, who we saw last week, are a great football team. Yeah, it's a different adventure every week. But Chris Wilder is a tactically very astute. We saw a Sheffield United team go up, and we've seen from his past record, even when he was Notts County and Oxford and Northampton, a wonderful record at every club he's been at, and he's continuing that now. But it's his ability to change the game as well. He will change things. His substitutions. We saw under Neil Warnock, that was one of his big issues. He was terrible at substitutions, and to be fair, a lot of Middlesbrough managers don't get that right for some reason. I don't know why. I think we fans might be too critical, but Wilder seems to have a knack of getting these substitutions right. He spots them as and when we the fans do, and we're all brilliant managers on the sideline, aren't we? But yeah, he's getting it right at the moment, and I think we're a hard team for other teams to figure out.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be something that's very important and underrated in managers, that they see something that if your plan A is not working, then you have a plan B that says, okay, we need to change someone up. We maybe have to go to up front. We maybe have to be a wee bit more defensive if we've got a goal advantage. It shows you, I think, as well, that the quality that Wilder has as a manager. Were you surprised that Boro were able to get him in? Because there was a lot of talk about him going to a range of different clubs at the time when he did lose his job, but he's come in and done a fine job so far at the Boro.
Yeah, he was being linked. He was one of the managers who I wanted when Neil Warnock was being linked with his exit. I think Mark Robbins was another at Coventry who I liked, but Wilder would have been towards the top of the list. So get him. It's good because it shows obviously Steve Gibson. There's no backing. There's no disputing his backing of the club. One of the best chairmen in the country. I think everyone agrees. Hometown club. So no, it wasn't a huge surprise because we do still fancy ourselves, Grant, as a Premier League club. We're still punching above our weight. We're still a small town in Yorkshire, but we like to bloody the noses of the other team. So to get Wilder to do that, we've suddenly gone from the change in attitude of the fans, Grant. I think it's something, if you've been attending the games, is a massive thing. We've gone from being a bit subdued under Warnock. The football wasn't great, and now suddenly we're promotion contenders. And it only took a couple of games under Wilder to realise that, and it's given us a real dose of optimism, which we haven't had for quite a while.
That's really interesting. You mentioned that in comparison to Warnock, because as a follower of the Championship myself, I always saw Neil Warnock as a very good Championship manager. But when he came up to the Premiership, it just didn't quite work out for him. But you seem to think that Wilder coming in gives him that little bit of encouragement, that enthusiasm, maybe that Warnock and his setup under his tenure maybe just didn't quite have previously, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think with Warnock, you can. It was just very tiresome, at times where every game it's the referee's fault and nobody's going to do a better job than me. And well, he's been made to look a bit silly at that, because within 10 games we look a completely different side. I was never a huge fan of Warnock. I don't think he should have been kept on after saving us. We appreciated him keeping us up for what he did, but yeah, he wasn't the right man for us. We'd been through Tony Pulis, who actually did a good job for us, got us in the playoffs, but this style of play, Warnock was doing it without getting the results. So no, it was definitely time for him to go. We didn't. I appreciate we didn't see the best of Neil Warnock, but Neil Warnock didn't see the best of us either.
Talk to me, Graeme, about the setup at Middlesbrough. Some of the players you mentioned, Paddy McNair, early on in this discussion. Has he really been the cornerstone of Boro's success, or who else has really shone in the team so far? Because there's a real blend in the squad. There's a lot of experience in there, but there's a lot of good young talent coming through as well.
Yeah, it's a real mishmash of what's come together. Isaiah Jones on the right is probably a standout at the moment. He's a winger who came from non-league. He's playing right wing back at the moment. He probably won't stay there for his entire career, but he's playing so well. He was Championship Player of the Month last month, and he's been fantastic for us. And in terms of maybe a Dyke Steele not the best defender, but in a 3, he looks so much more comfortable. Dale Fry, who is outstanding centre half, he'll be in the Premier League next season. If it's not with us, he'll probably leave alongside McNair. But McNair plays this. He plays the libero role. Baresi. He's our main playmaker as well. Even though you're playing a 3, he's our main playmaker. He comes out from the back where Johnny Howson sits, and McNair will be spraying the ball around at Old Trafford. You'll see that. And he's a top quality performer. He's one of the. Paddy McNair sees himself as a midfielder, and he is a good Championship midfielder. But in defence, he's a Premier League defender, and he should concentrate on being in defence, because in defence he's top notch. He really is. He reminds me of the Gareth Southgate, where he was a good midfielder, but he was a top class centre half. I think Paddy McNair are pretty similar to that.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting as well, you obviously talked quite a lot there about the defence, but you've also got a couple of really exciting front players as well. I was having a look at the scoring charts at the moment, and Andras Sporar, is that how you pronounce his name? I think he is your top scorer in the league with 7 goals. What's his sort of attributes? Because, Slovenian player, looks like he could be a bit of a handful.
He is. I like him. He reminds me a little bit of. He's a good old-fashioned goal poacher, really. He needs to stay in the box a bit more for me. He needs to be like he's not a Kevin Phillips-ish, but he's of that ilk where he sniffs around the box, he gets in there. And I like him. He's an old-fashioned centre forward. He suits this 2-man system. You've got Crooks and Tavernier coming up behind him who provide, but then you've got the other striker next to him. So Sporar, he is a Slovenian song. He's a real cult figure at the moment. And we've had a lot of these along the years, Grant, where it's inspired us to promotion. We've had these cult strikers who've come in on loan. If you remember back, we had a striker called Uwe Fuchs, who got us up in the Brian Robson era. Then we had Marco Branca come in on loan. So our record of foreign strikers on loan coming in is very good, and they do normally perform. I don't think Sporar is quite up to the levels of those two yet, but he's getting there. And yeah, I think he's one to watch. He's a very good finisher. He's been a bit unlucky, if honestly. He could have had a lot more than 7, and he's probably been a bit unselfish. But hopefully he'll concentrate on the 6-yard box and let... I will get onto this. I think Balogun will play Friday. So I think in and around him, we could be quite dangerous.
Why do you think Balogun will play on Friday? I'm just interested in that dynamic. Just thought I should ask that question.
Yeah, because Aaron Connolly's come in and looked dreadful, is an easy answer. He looks as if he couldn't hit a barn door at the minute. We got rid of Onel Hernandez, who was a winger, and he played up front for a little while, but he put loads of effort in. But Connolly's come in and looks... I'm probably being a little bit harsh. He looks a million miles away, right? He really does. And Balogun came in against Coventry and created the winner for Sporar. So I'd be amazed. I'd be amazed if Balogun is not starting this weekend, because Connolly, he looks okay. He looks tidy, but he's not impacting the games. He doesn't look Premier League quality at the moment. I know he is. I quite liked him. I liked the signing when we did it, but no, he's not. And if we didn't play Balogun of those two, Duncan Watmore could easily play. A real sniffer, loves to get in the round. He's really good coming off the bench. But Watmore could play. I wouldn't rule him out. I think it'd be Watmore or Balogun next to Sporar. I really can't see Connolly starting.
Yeah, I mean, also Matt Crooks has been a real find for you guys as well this season. He got a couple of goals, I think, in the recent game against Reading, didn't he? And I think he's the second top scorer, 6 goals. What's his attributes? Because he looks like he's got something about him as well.
How would I describe him? He's a bit Fellaini-ish, a big, tall midfielder. He's got everything potentially. He's skillful. His threat in the air is the main thing, breaking into the box, but he defends as well. And we've got, he plays on the right coming in. Tavernier is almost everywhere. It's our midfield's quite hard to pick up. We are quite dangerous when we're on form, because Tavernier is in there, skillful, creating. Crooks is the main target man. So yeah, if I could liken him, the United fans know what I mean. He is a bit Fellaini-ish, where you think a lanky midfielder sometimes, but very talented. He really is.
And you mentioned guys like Tavernier and Balogun.
Crooks is a die-hard United fan as well. His family, his granddad, etc., is going back 40 years, apparently. I didn't find out till today. So, yeah, he definitely went down in my estimation. But, yeah, he's a die-hard United fan. So, another reason for you to like him, Grant.
Well, very interesting. We'll certainly keep an eye on the progress of his career for sure. You mentioned Tavernier and Balogun, of course, and of course, in relation to, to a couple of players in Scottish football as well. What have you made of their journeys in the game at Boro?
Yeah, Marcus Tavernier is a homegrown talent, brother of James, the Rangers captain, and he's come through the ranks. He's a bit of a boo boy at times for some of the fans who, I think they want far too much of him. I like him. He's very skillful. He can pick a pass. He created the goal on Saturday for Balogun to run through for Sporra. Yeah, I like Marcus. He can. It's one of those where do we play him? Do we play him out wide in the middle? Do you play him? He's sort of playing as a floater at the minute in midfield. But no, he's a terrific player, and he's a moment of magic if we need it. He's the one who could certainly create that for us on Friday. So he's one to watch. He's difficult to pick up.
Jarvis Cocker, who's a big contributor to the channel, he says, speaking of cult strikers, don't forget Jan Ege Fjortoft, 1995. And I was thinking of guys like Hamilton Ricard as well. He was quite a good player.
Yeah, but what I was saying in terms of Uwe Fuchs and Branco were they're similar to Sparrow, where they were on loan at the club from abroad. Jan Age was our record sign, and not quite a flop, but he certainly didn't have the impact we wanted at the time when we signed under Robson. But yeah, he was good. And Ricard had a few moments at Old Trafford as well, doesn't he? But yeah, and we've had lots of foreign strikers: Jaime Moreno, Joseph Job, Zilad Nemeth. But my favourite foreign striker, obviously, relates to my favourite game at Old Trafford, Grant, in 2002 when the legendary Alan Boksic scored our winner at Old Trafford. One of the best strikers I've ever seen.
I remember him. Good player.
What a player. Fantastic player.
Yeah, very good. And I'm glad you mentioned Nemeth as well, because he was a good player as well. Let's talk about how Boro got this far, because obviously they came through in the latest round of the FA Cup against Mansfield. And of course, it was quite an extraordinary game, Graeme, because Boro were 2-0 up. But Mansfield came storming back to get it to 2-2, heading into stoppage time. And then Jonjo O'Toole turning in a cross into his own net to send Boro through. What was your thoughts on the game and your reflection of what was a cracking match?
Yeah, it was a strange one because obviously Mansfield, it seems on paper they were going through a tough time, but now they are the form team in the EFL. If you've seen their recent run, they are on Nigel Clough. We've always had that bond between Brian Clough being from Middlesbrough, so we like Nigel Clough. We always have. But yeah, we put out a second string team. We had Boyd Muntz making his debut, and it was great for him to score on his debut. He'd literally signed the day before from Birmingham. But yeah, it was very much a second string team we had out there, apart from McNair and Howson. But yeah, I think we just thought the game was won at 2-0. And then they came back, and then it was Isaiah Jones' magic won it in the last minute. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Matt Crooks was actually saying in his interview, Grant, he just hopes he is playing on Friday because we do have QPR coming the week after. But Chris Wilder, I'm pretty certain he puts a full team out here live on TV. Everyone can see the job he's done. So I don't think he'll be resting anyone for this one. I do think we'll see a very different team to the one that won at Mansfield last time out.
That is an excellent bridge to my next question, because obviously Boro very much in this round of the Cup. They're in the playoff spots in the Championship. As a fan, would you be looking at more opportunities to try and go deep in the FA Cup, or are you really pushing to try and cement your place in the playoffs, maybe even try and push for second behind Fulham at the top?
No, I think we're coming here, sold out, nearly 10,000 fans. Just as ticket holders didn't go on general, so that tells you we're coming here with not confidence, but we're coming here feeling like we can give United the bloody nose here, and I think United feel that as well. I don't think we were the team that United particularly would want to play. One of the form teams in the Championship, team with a good record at Old Trafford, and particularly us because of the way we play. Two up front, physical, coming at you, and we're coming with not a lot of confidence, but a little bit certainly.
It's certainly going to be an intriguing game, and obviously it's Friday night. It's live on ITV. It's a game that the TV companies have picked up, and it's certainly going to be one that will capture the imaginations of this romanticist of the cup, so to speak. You've obviously will follow Manchester United as well. What have you made of United so far this season under Ralph Rangnick. Obviously, they just squeezed through against Aston Villa in the last round. Is this a sort of game that United will have to approach well, otherwise they could come up stuck?
Oh, definitely. We're on par with some of the lower teams in the Premier League, without a shadow of a doubt. I think this will be a tough one. In terms of United, obviously, I've been on the show a few times. I think I don't think much of them, to be honest, under Ralph Rangnick. I think I love the summer business. I never rated Ollie. He was the weak link in there. You had a world-class squad, but you didn't have a world-class manager. You still don't have one now. You've still got a run-of-the-mill manager, and his CV tells you that. He shouldn't be in charge, in my opinion, of Manchester United. Obviously, we've seen lots of reports about who's going to come out. I still think it will be Pochettino who comes in. I think he'd be perfect for you. But yeah, I think you are beatable. I think you're very beatable, to be honest, Grant. I think the way we can attack you, we're getting people behind. Don't get me wrong. I think it'll be a very tough game for us. But I'd rather play you than Aston Villa, who we could have got.
Bit of a quiz question for you now, Graeme. When was the last time Boro played Man United at Old Trafford?
I don't know. I did say this before. Was it 2017? Something like that?
Oh, well, it was 2017 was the last meeting we played against you guys, which was at the Riverside, or is that what you call it? Is it still the Riverside? But the last time we played at Old Trafford was in 2016. Actually, New Year's Eve 2016. And it was a game that Boro led 1-0 and 2 late goals from Anthony Martial. Remember him, United fans? And Paul Pogba got the winner for United in this game. And speaking of Pogba, that comes on really nicely to another bridge to this question. Do you think Pogba will play any part in this game? There's a lot of talk about him maybe getting some minutes here.
Yeah, well, my son Lucas obviously hopes so. He wants Ronaldo and Pogba to be in the starting lineup, and I do too. I think it's the ideal opportunity for Pogba. We're a championship team who plays a little bit. He's not gonna get kicked to death by playing us. Where some teams in the championship he would come off not very happy. That won't happen to him here. So I think Rangnick probably will. I think United need him. So I think it's the ideal opportunity to give him minutes. But yeah, I think you probably have heard more and read more than me, Grant, but I suspect he will be involved.
Obviously, United are coming into this game off the back of 4 unbeaten. They obviously won the FA Cup game against Villa. They drew the game in the league, but they've come off of back-to-back wins against Brentford and West Ham. There's a bit of belief again that United may be starting to kind of resurrect a pretty disappointing season. Do you think that this game has come at a good time for them? Because obviously the break happened last week. I felt it disrupted United's momentum because they'd come off some good results. Do you think it was a good time for them to maybe kind of rest and sort of get fresh again and prepare for this game?
I say probably not in your case, Grant. They're probably you're probably just getting used to whichever system that Ralph was coming up with this week. And I don't think for United it was a great time. I think they're on that little bit of a run, and if you are going to get top 4, it needs to be back on the back of the run, and which is what you're on. And obviously you should still continue that. But yeah, you need to. February's a huge month for him, isn't he? Off the top of my head, you've got a really tough March, isn't it? Is that when you've got City and Liverpool? So yeah, he needs to. I think the pressure's on him to get results. If you've got any hope of getting top 4, you have to have a very good February. So and what better way to kick off for the win? If you lose to us, then it doesn't bode well.
Yeah, I mean, I've said to a load of Manchester United fans on various social media that I think the FA Cup is an opportunity for Manchester United to get back into the winner's circle, because you look at City, you look at Liverpool, they're these ever-winning machines. Chelsea obviously have won the Champions League as well. So United haven't won a trophy since the Europa League, so they need to be getting back into the winner's circle. And the FA Cup isn't the greatest prize of all time, but it's something to get there, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's silverware counts. And I think if Rangnick had any hope of getting the job, which I don't think he has, it would be to win some silverware. And this is the second of the chance to the Europa League to do it. But I do wonder whether he concentrates on Europa though, Grant, because that's probably the best way of getting in the Champions League.
Yeah, it's certainly a very interesting month of February, and of course March, as you mentioned there, because obviously we've got Atletico Madrid in the Champions League as well, which is going to be very fascinating to keep an eye on. Let's bring it back a little bit to Boro, though, Graeme. Where do you think Chris Wilder's team can hurt Manchester United? Because Chris Wilder, of course, has taken a Sheffield United team to Old Trafford and won there in the past.
All right, yeah, I haven't seen much of Wilder. I remember that actually. Yeah, as I said, playing two up front will be interesting. Obviously, I don't know what team United are going to play out. I presume it's a back four. But in the way we flood the midfield as well, because we play a three, but McNair joins in, so you have Howson and McNair joins in, so you have Howson and Crooks there as well, with Tavernier floating around. We can be quite difficult to play against because it's not just a straightforward 3-5-2, and Isaiah Jones will be looking at your left side options. He'll be licking his lips. Isaiah Jones will be as good a right-hand player you've come across in quite a while. He's phenomenal. He really is. And I think we'll be looking at that side. And Matt Crooks doing that, as you will see, breaking into a box with his height, will be getting crosses in. And it's not just to Crooks, and he's knocking it down to two strikers, not just one man. So I think that's where it helps us. And so we like to get to the bar line. You got Tavernier making his runs as well. If we're on our day, if we're playing really well, we create a lot of options. The last couple of games we've been a bit flat. It hasn't quite worked. But I think being at Old Trafford under lights, probably with Balogun making his first start, I think will be a threat.
On the flip side, though, you mentioned there about Ronaldo and Pogba earlier on. Is that a worry for you when United are attacking Boro? What's your sort of feelings about where United could get at Boro?
Yeah, Dijksteel is quick. He's not the best defender, and I think if you turn him, there's opportunities there. Howson, you can get him. Johnny Howson's a wonderful captain for us, but his legs are going a little bit. So I think in midfield, you might have to have Crooks and Tavernier dropping deep. If you do, then you take away from our attacking option. Joe Lumley in goal is okay, but he's got a huge rick in him possibly everywhere. So if you are going to be firing shots at him, he can be Peter Schmeichel one day, but then he can drop a few in. And I do question his footwork as well. So if you turn us, I think there's opportunities there. And if you keep Taylor Jones in our half, then you can overcome us. You can pass us to death a little bit, really. But whether you've got the guys to do that, we'll see.
It is, of course, coming up to half an hour or so into the show. If you're watching us on Twitter or on other social media platforms, come over to YouTube, give us our comments on our thoughts on the game, and we'll show them up on the screen. And remember to like and subscribe wherever you are following us. But Graeme, we talked there about Isaiah Jones, and obviously you mentioned there about the two strikers. Do you think Middlesbrough will be quite bold and go with two up front, or will they start with a one?
No, it'll be two. That's the way we play now. Yeah, we're always two up front. He will play two up front, I'm pretty sure. The only way it might change slightly if he plays Watmore, but then it'll be almost a three up front with Tavernier and Watmore either side with Crooks and Howson sitting. I don't think he'll do that. I think it'll be Sporar and Balogun. It'll be two up front. So I say it'll be an interesting look for United. It'll be something that you don't come across very often. But yeah, it'll be two up front with we'll have a back three, two wing backs, Howson sits, and then you've got Crooks pushing forward and then Tavernier floating behind the front two.
Well, if McNair does play on Friday night, do you think he'll get a good reception from United fans? What's your feeling about that?
I would hope so. Obviously, it's been a while, isn't it, since you've seen him, Meg? Right? He's come through the youth system. He played against you a few times during his time at Sunderland. And you could probably tell me, Grant, I would think he gets a good reception, does he?
Well, I would like to hope so. I mean, I always put a shift in when I certainly was following United. I mean, I don't speak for all United fans on the show, but certainly my opinion of him was I always thought he gave a shift and he always did quite well. So he's obviously improving his game. He was maybe a little bit inexperienced when he was in the books at United, but he's gone to a championship club, but he's done very well. So fair play to him.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it anyway.
He's outstanding. And I'm not joking about it. For me, he's the best defender midfielder in the championship. For me, he really is.
Great, Graeme, it's been great to have you on. We're very much coming towards the end of the show. Obviously, we talked about the championship, obviously very much in the playoff picture. But a run in the FA Cup, what would beating Manchester United at Old Trafford do for Boro's confidence, not just of going further in the Cup, but also going into the crucial stages of the championship? Because I said there's plenty to play for from a Boro perspective as well as United.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would give us that real impetus going into the latter part of the season, and it gives us that extra belief saying we are good enough. There is that wonder still. We lost to Blackburn, probably one of the better teams we've come across. We did beat Bournemouth, but they were poor on the day, and it'll give us that real. I think we just want to see performance. We want to go there, and obviously we'd love to beat you, but as long as we can bloody your nose, give you a shock, score there. I think that's the main thing. As long as we go there, give ourselves. Make it respectable. We're on live TV. Show that we are good enough to be in the promotion mixture. I think that's why we are dangerous as well. We go there with nothing to lose and everything to gain.
And as I mentioned earlier on, Middlesbrough are one of these teams that they don't score a lot of goals, but they don't give much away either because, this is the sort of game where the first goal could be absolutely vital here.
Yeah, definitely. And I say we're one of these teams who and the fans, we love, and there's a reason we love coming to Old Trafford, Grant, is because we have a good record there. I think in the Premier League history, I think we're third or fourth in the points taken at Old Trafford. We've had a lot of cup games at Old Trafford. We always give United a good game. And we're one of the few teams who goes to Old Trafford without any fear whatsoever.
Right, second quiz question. When was Borough's last win at Old Trafford?
Oh, did we have one in the league? I'm not sure. We're not including. We won in penalties, didn't we, at some point as well? 2016. Is it in the Is it in the tens? I can't remember. I did look at this as well. I knew my favourite win was 2002, but we've had one since then. I assume anyway.
There was one in 2004 is the one I've got here. Juninho got a couple of goals, and one of my favourite Boro players, Joseph Desiree Job, got the winner. So that was quite a story. He was a bit of a character as well, just after that.
He's opened the scoring in the Carling Cup final, our only major trophy to date. He opened the scoring there. He is a Teesside legend, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Graeme, I know you're a very busy man, so we'll finish this up, and I'm sure you've got other things to crack on with. But just before we go, give us a prediction on the game. How do you think Boro will get on?
If we play our best, my heart says 2-1 Middlesbrough. My head says 2-1 United.
That's funny because I have 2-1 United as well. So I think it'll be a very tight game. I expect Boro to give absolutely everything. As you mentioned there, Boro got absolutely nothing to lose. They're having a good run of form. I think, as I mentioned, they're just one defeat in the last 10 games. They've got a bit of character about them. They've got a really good structure about them. They don't give much away. I think it's going to be a game that United are going to have to play well if they're going to win. As I mentioned earlier on, could that little break that they had off the back of the West Ham game be to their detriment, or could it help them? We don't know. It's going to be intriguing to see what happens. But we shall see the game, of course, live on ITV on Friday night. So do watch the game. And here on All for United, my great comrade, Mark Biggs, will be here to review the game with contacts on the show after the Boro game. So do check us out for that. There's so much content on All for United coming out throughout the week. I mean, you've heard a lot of really good talks from Ben Pearce this week. Please go and check that out. Graeme was mentioning that earlier on. He was talking to Ben Pearce. There's so many other good shows on All for United at the moment. Do go and check out the content, especially Keane Franey, who has had a recent good chat with Callum McFadden as well about Amad Diallo and his time, obviously, so far at Rangers, of course. And there's a big game tonight, of course, in Glasgow. So well worth maybe tuning in for that one. Just before we go, please like and subscribe for All for United content. Do check out Graeme. You're on the socials. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm all over the shop. I'm cheap and cheerful, all over the shop. But at Graeme Bailey on Twitter, and Graeme obviously spelt like Souness, as we said at the start of the show.
Excellent stuff. And Graeme writes some fantastic content and very much contributes to so much football content all over a range of platforms. So go and check out Graeme's content, master of the business, as always. But thanks everybody for tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you've been watching the video. Come on United in that game on Friday. It should be a very, very interesting game. But from me, your host, Grant, thanks very much for tuning into the show. And all the very best to you. Take care and stay safe.
Guys. Up the Boro.